Hello friends, this is Amit. So we already see that how we can generate a custom primary key as well as composite primary key, and we can create a last project that have a composite primary key, custom primary key with help of annotation as well as help of core configuration. So here we try to understand the next concept, that is a very important concept, that is a SQL or any object oriented query language. So we will start with that SQL and we'll try to understand how we can convert our native query to a particular SQL, and how we can achieve this. Means we have much more queries, and how what the pattern we will follow and how easily we can understand that SQL. So first, before going to that SQL deeply, we start with that object state. That is a very important question, very important. Each and every interview we will get this kind of question. So here in Hibernate runtime scenario, if any object is participating in persistence operation, then that object must be in three states. Either they are in transient state, either they are in persistent state, either they are in detached state. So their state will be defined about and with the object, where exactly object, and means how the object is dealing with operation. So when we'll see that transient object, when we create any new object and that object is not pushed under the session cache, that only newly created object and that not have a primary key kind of concept. So this type of object we will call transient object. For example, here we created one object like a student, and after that, before session.save, if we not do this line session.save, then this kind of object is called transient object. What the definition is there? When persistent class object is newly created and not participating any session operation, then that object is called as a transient object. The state of object is called transient state. Transient object does not contain any identifier or primary key. I will show you when that object is called like a transient object, and when it will be called a persistent, and when it will be a detached. So here we created that object. So a student class that have a parameterized constructor, they are taking a 3 parameter, name, ID and phone. We'll check that a student class. So here s name, email and phone. So inside initialization code, where we writing an initialization code under the constructor, what exactly here we are doing? We will not initialize value that we are going to make as a primary key. So SID will automatically generate by Hibernate runtime system. So whenever we create, we will call this object and we will create this particular student object by utilizing this parameterized constructor that have a 3 field as name, email and phone. Whenever that object is created, that must not have this SID, because here we are creating that object with this parameterized constructor, and that parameterized constructor not contain the primary key. So just example, here we are created SID STU is equal to new student. Here we passing a 3 parameter only, and whenever we session.save will do that operation, automatically that primary key will be added by the Hibernate. Either that primary key in a custom primary key, either we will utilize some primary key algorithm generator. So here we are using this primary key generator. Here we have our custom primary key generator algorithm SID generator. Through that we are generating that primary key. So internally Hibernate runtime system, when we will save, when we call session.save, that time it will be called, and that will be called the generator method, and that will take the primary key and that will be pushed inside that student object, and after that make the complete object. We just before doing the transaction operation, just before doing the commit operation. So whenever newly created object, they not contain any primary key. I will show you that other example also, where we are using some normal type of primary key. Here it is a custom primary key, user built primary key. So here Hibernate provided primary key, like we are using increment or HILO, that I already explained about that. So this ID generator, what we have registered here, that is automatically called whenever, just before to whenever object going to push inside the session cache. When transaction is started, just before of that primary key pushed inside that object. Here we'll see that inside also annotation way, where primary key configure inside that object itself, like here a student. So we'll mark as a @ID, means this is a primary key, and after that generated value a strategy generated type dot auto. So automatically it will be generate and push inside that particular object whenever the required. Initially it is not doing anything, a newly created object, this kind of object, before participating any session operation, means before this line, if you not pass any line, but it is available here in the persistence class. This kind of object we called transient object, and this state of that object is called transient state. Now it's very clear, whenever any object is participating in Hibernate runtime system operation, or that object is available in Hibernate runtime system, that must be in three states only: either they are transient, either they are persistent, either they are detached. So first newly created object, if they not contain any primary key and that not participating any session operation, so this kind of object we called transient object, and this situation or this state is called transient state. So it is a clear. So here we not have any commit, we not have any flush. The next is persistent state. The same object, what is the transient object is newly created, but if that object, if they participating in session operation, then we can say that this is a persistent state, and there must be the commit and there must be a flush, as well as what the we have a changes in the particular object, that is if that will be effect in provide the effect in database also. So what the value we have on the particular object, it will be available in the database also, so it will be affect the database also. So persistent state, when persistent class object is participating any session operation, then that object is called persistent object. The state of that object is called persistent state, and persistent object contains identifier or primary key, because this is a final object that complete the transaction operation and that affect the database, so it must have the primary key, as well as any modification available on the particular object, that modification or that effect must be available in persistence database also. So object, what the object we have a persistent object, that will be reflect to database. So this kind of object will call persist object, and this state is called persist state. So maybe the sometime you will get the question, what the object state is there and what is the different kind of object is there. So persistent object, that time it is participating that particular persistent operation, that state is called persistent state. The same thing transient object, when they are playing some role inside a Hibernate runtime system, that state is called persistent state. And detach also same, either detach object, either detach state. So particular object that is participating in Hibernate runtime system, that called detach state, and that state is called that object is called detach object. So when the detach, so detach means if newly object is created as well as they participating in the session operation, means that object push inside the session cache, that transaction is started, but during of that something is happened and that value is not affected or not reflected to database, but it have a primary key and it is a complete object. So during the transaction it rollback is happen or something is happened, the transaction is not completed. So this kind of object is called detach object, and this state is called detach state. So when persistent class object is participating any session operation and remove from the session cache, then that object is called detach object, and the state of the object is called detach state. Detach object contain any identification or any primary key. So here we have commit but not flush. So successfully transaction is not completed. So any time duration, Hibernate have three kind of state or three kind of object. Either they are transient state, either they are persistent state, either they are detached state. So either they are transient object, persistent object, and detached object. So transient object means newly created object. When persistent class object is newly created and not participating any session operation, then that type of object is called transient object, and the state of that object is called transient state. Transient object does not contain any identifier or primary key, that I already show you that. And persistent state, when persistent class object is participating any session operation, then that object is called persistent object, and the state of that object is called persistent state. Persistent object contain any identifier or primary key. Any modification happen in the particular persistent object, that will be a reflect in the database also. Here we have a commit, we have a flush. Detached state, when persistent class object is participating any session operation and remove from the session cache, then that kind of object is called detached object. The state of that object is called detached state. Detached object contain identifier and primary key. It have commit but it not have a flush. So any kind of time, Hibernate have only three kind of object. Why I am always telling this thing? Because this is a very important question. It will, if you attend 4 or 5 interview related to Hibernate, must be you will get this kind of question. If you explain about this thing is very deeply like that, if you remember about what is exact transient, when the transient object is come on the picture and when this state is come, then you can explain very well. Other than persistent state or persistent object, if you remember about that, what exactly the persistent object and what is a persistent state, then you can give the answer very effective way, because you know the deeply what is the persistent object, what is the transient object, and what is a detached object, and according of that you can say that this is a detached state, this is a persistent state, and this is a transient state. Other than we have to focus on transaction management. When we'll start to a transaction, how the transaction is managed, how the automatic, how the isolation, how the durability, how the consistency, how the means different kind of thing we have to provide, as well as we have to manage the transaction. We will see that how we can manage the JDBC transaction, how we can means other than JDBC transaction, how we will do. So transaction management also we have to focus on it. Other than that, the main important topic is Hibernate query language, that called SQL or any object oriented query language. So here when we are going to write a Hibernate, generally we are not using a directly native query. So what the query we will use in MySQL, we will not allow to write this kind of query here, because Hibernate come on the picture, because they will support different kind of database at a time. So we'll write any query that will be support different kind of database, and Hibernate runtime system is responsible to generate particular query internally to utilizing any Hibernate runtime query language. So basically most of the organization, most of the product, they are using a SQL, that called Hibernate query language. Other than also they are using a QBC, QBE, native query, named query like that, query by criteria, query by example, SQL query, a named SQL query. But first we will focus on the SQL, Hibernate query language, and we will check that how we can effectively write the Hibernate query language code. And after that we will see that how QBC and other query also we can implement. But here I am going to explain about you deeply in SQL, how exactly we are writing a SQL. And any query that for example, inner join, outer join, any deeply query that if you try to learn in MySQL query or Oracle query, it will be very difficult. It will take too much time to understand about that query, and after that you have remember that query also is very difficult, because they are using a very hard and fast rule. You have to remember, they not have any format like that, something you will remember some format, and after that you can just understand that what exact query here will generate it. But here when we talk about a Hibernate runtime, means SQL Hibernate query language, here we have a facility to generate particular query, and we to write that particular query in term of object oriented query language. Through that object, how we are dealing in the Java, how we are using that object in Java, that the same kind of object type of thing we can utilize in our application and will generate a particular query. So here we no need to remember much more thing, only few words, few thing you have to remember, and that only few points you can utilize that point, and you can achieve any type of query that you want to generate. So first we will understand about what is a SQL. So Hibernate query language is a very powerful query language, and SQL is much like a SQL, and it is a case sensitive. So main thing is that we have to generate one query that will be a fit for different database, as well as that query it's a very easy to write, and SQL is provided. Through that we can achieve this all kind of thing. So we can see that SQL is based on relational object model and makes the SQL object oriented. So this is a complete object oriented query language, and it is based on the relational model as well as the particular object. So SQL use classes and properties, but when we talk about that any query language, they will use the term of table and column. But here SQL, we can create a particular query related to SQL query. There we can utilize classes and properties. So SQL is extremely powerful, and it is a support polymorphism, association, and it have a much less verbose than SQL, because it is supporting a object oriented query language, and through that it is a dealing like we can utilize a particular property of that class and particular class name, we can generate a particular query. So few other important thing is that full support of relational database, like that SQL allow representing a SQL query in the form of object, because it is a based on object oriented query language. So it is a completely depend on the object. So Hibernate query language use classes and property instead of using a table and column. Other thing is then that result returning by that particular query in the terms of object. So for example, we want to retrieve some customer whose ID, particular ID is 001. So we can retrieve it and we will get the particular customer. And other thing is that here only one customer will get whose particular ID is the same. Other thing is that if we want to retrieve that customer who belong to the Bangalore city, or who is based on the Bangalore city, or we want to retrieve some customer whose account balance is more than 1000 rupees. So this kind of situation we will get more than one customer at a time. So in this situation actually we are getting the customer list inside the java.util list. So we can fetch that list and we will do the Java operation, because we are the Java developer. So we can easily deal with the particular object, and when it is returning the particular object, whenever we can write some query. So it is a very easy as our Java developer to develop the application. Other thing is that the polymorphic queries. So it is a fully supported polymorphism thing. So it is a very easy to write as well as execute. So easy to learn, because as I say that it is a follow object oriented. So how we are dealing with the object, we can deal with here directly, and only we have to think about when we are going to write a query. There only you have to remember few things. Other than that, we can directly deal with the SQL and we can achieve any scenario that is a very big SQL query we are writing in the particular native query, like MySQL query or Oracle query kind of thing. We can achieve in very less way, very less effort and with effective way. So it is a very easy. Again, it is support advanced feature, like SQL contains many advanced feature such as pagination. That is a very difficult to achieving that part inside that native query kind of thing. So a scrolling value we can support, like that we want fetch the data. If we would like to fetch the particular data, and for example we are searching some customer who belong to the Bangalore or who belong to the Hyderabad. Here maybe we'll get thousands of customer, but sometime we don't want to deal with the thousand of customer. In our page or my application will support only 100 of customer. So we'll do that operation, start with the 0 and 100, and next time it will be give 100. Like same thing is a scrolling value or pagination concept. So here Hibernate have inbuilt support to provide a pagination concept or a scrolling value kind of thing. So SQL have a very advanced feature that it's a very difficult to achieving inside the particular native query kind of thing. So SQL contain many advanced features such as pagination, fetch join, dynamic profiling, inner outer joining, a creational particular product. It's also support projection, aggregation, max average, group wise, order wise, like operator, subquery, SQL function, and many things that provided here. Through that we can easily manipulate, we can easily do the operation on particular object. Other thing is that is a database independency that I already explained in many a time, because ORM tool or any ORM tool, either we talk about Hibernate, either we'll talk about JPA, JDBC, IBET, Toppling, etc. So they are very famous because they are not dealing with the particular one single database. They are the database independency here. So according of that, Hibernate runtime system, when we write SQL or native query or named query, according of that what the database we are going to utilize, particular type of the query, it's automatically generate and they can utilize it internally. So that feature is make Hibernate, it's very powerful because it's not have any dependency of particular database. So other thing is that here we have to understand few things, that if we understand that few things we can easily deal with the Hibernate. So any Hibernate query language may contains following element: either they have a clause, either they have an aggregate function, either they have a subquery. So clauses, like we have to remember this few thing, and we always going to utilize a from. After that we will use select, where, order by, group by. This thing we have to remember. Aggregation we can use like a average, sum, mean, max, count with multiple value, count, this count, distinct, count all, this kind of feature we can utilize. Subquery we can utilize also here, many subqueries here. So we will see that here how we can achieve this Hibernate runtime system, and how the Hibernate runtime system is generating a internally particular query. So this example we already wrote here, that actually we going to utilize the same example because this is a very bigger table. So we'll see here MySQL and admin, and it is a using database. So whenever you are here or somewhere like that, we are here and we want to move into the particular, you just click this logo. If you click this logo, it will be show you that where exact this file is located. So we are here in this project and we will just want to search that mapping and what the table they utilize. So my student 1 they are utilizing here. So I have use. First we have to use that particular database. So we have to see that what the database they are using. So here they are using visual path 4. So we will use visual path 4. So database change visual path 4, and here show tables. So we are using a student 1. So select star from my student 1, my student. So we have the few value here, and according to the will fetch like that. First we will fetch whose SID is equal to some particular value like a PNR underscore 001. After that we will see that how we can fetch whose name is Amit, and after that we will see that we can try to fetch some customer whose mobile number is 9003015 maybe 2 customer is here. After that we will filter with that mobile number is 900301590 and that email ID is something different. After that we will can fetch means will fetch the employee ID which they are using a gmail.com and they are using a visualpath.com domain. After that we can fetch by some name like Amit or some kind of thing. So we'll do multiple operation in this table and we'll try to create SQL. So whenever we try to create SQL, first we have to create a query. So we have now we know going to utilize this functionality. So just we will comment it. This is the same example where we are writing a custom primary key generator and we can convert to PNR 001234 form. That is the last video, you can check. And that the same table actually, because this is a big table and it have a different kind of data also. So we will apply our SQL query in this particular table. So that's the reason I'm going to utilize this thing. Here what exactly we'll do, we utilize this try here and to transaction.begin transaction, and we are not going to do this thing, any kind of thing. So here we have to generate query. Spelling is mistake. We have to write QUERY query. So it is a org.hibernate.query something. Even Q, and we can enable through session dot create query. Session spelling mistake, SESSION session dot create query, and here we have to pass that query. So we have to create some string value. So a string will make like one gap here, through that easily we can understand what the value is. So SQL equal to, we will start to writing a query like that, from which object we would like to apply that query. So we are here a student, so we'll write same thing object here, that I already explain about that here, object oriented query, and it is SQL, that is a focus on property inside the classes and the class name. It is not dealing with like MySQL and Oracle that native query we are doing. Like we can directly use a table, or we can utilize that table column name. Here we are not going to do anything like that. We will use that variables that is available in the particular entity classes and that entity classes name. So we have a student class here. So we'll start with from a student, and like that we are creating a student class, a student stu, like here equal to new like a lab 38 client, lab equal to new client. So we are writing here lab. So when we will create a student here, how we will write? We will write stu student stu equal to new student. So here left side we will write like student stu. The same thing we will apply from student any reference variable stu. It's not dependent to anything. From student stu where stu dot we can use any variable that we would like to retrieve. So we will want to retrieve some SID, that through that SID we want to retrieve. So stu dot SID equal to will pass like that this mark, and we will close it, and we'll pass this SQL here. So we have one question mark here, means we will provide that particular, we will set that value. So how will doing that? So q equal to q dot set a string, and this is a 0th position. So in the left side we will count this exact mark, how many mark is there, this question marks kind of thing. So we have only one marks left side. So first mark, if it will come, it will be point like a 0, and here we will push that particular value. So SID, we want any SID, like we would like to get information related to Mukesh. So PNR underscore 003 we have to put. So done. Now after that we have to create one list where we would like to store this information. This list is type of the student. So this is a list equal to, will use q dot list, and we have that list here. So we can print list dot for each. So this is a student type of object. So S, and here we will print system out dot println S. This is example, so I will delete it, and we will run this example. We will see that what the value we are getting. We are getting the exact value or not. Yes. So we got that particular value here, which PNR is 003, and we are getting that particular student. Now if we want where SID equal to something, and we want to do the filter of some kind of thing like that, we would like some phone number. Phone number is 90030159006. Where what exact student phone is here? So we have a phone. So phone equal to SID, this one. So phone number is 90030159005. So we'll run it. So 5 is not there, that reason is throw exception. Actually 6 is here. Java application. From that's wrong. We will do stu dot phone. So stu is a reference variable dot phone. Yes. So we got two student information whose phone number is same. That name is Mukesh and SK. But I would like that phone number is something and that S name equal to SK. So we will do the same operation here, and we will apply with and S name stu dot S name equal to that the same thing. Sorry. And we will set that parameter here. sequentially. So left side, this is for 0, this is 1. So this is 1 we have to change, and s name equal to sk. So here sk, this is a case sensitive. So if we write s or k small, it will not work. And if we run this one, so we got exactly whose phone number is something, whose name is equal to sk. So as it is parameter we would like, we will set here. But if we not provide the exact location of that particular, what the location here, then it will throw exception. Now we are getting a particular exception. So we have to provide a particular location where we would like to set this kind of thing. Other than this q.set, we can utilize a property also. Actually here we are dealing with the student, means the particular SID or something is a string. So we would like to use particular dot set a string kind of thing. But when we will deal with the particular object, we would like to set the particular object, then we will deal with that particular other method is there, that is q equal to q dot set parameter. So parameter is there, we can provide a parameter 0 and we will set the same thing here, that mobile number is 900301590 6, and we will apply q equal to q dot set parameter. Here we will put 1 and here argument equal to, this time we would like to access some other person whose name is 6, whose name is Mukesh. Now we'll run it. So yes, we got this one. So either you will use set string, set integer kind of thing, either you can directly use set parameter and you can utilize. So other than, we can utilize other thing also, like and order by, as well as some less than equal to, like equal to we wrote, we can utilize a less than equal to also. If we have integer value is there, like a balance kind of thing, you can utilize a less than equal to also. Other than that, yeah, we can utilize a order by and like. So just we will try to utilize a like operator first. So from customer C, where C dot email like, here not equal to like, we will pass something and I will delete this thing right now. So here what actually I trying to do, here we have a multiple email ID. So some email ID that gmail.com, some related to visualpath.com. So I would like to access the student whose email ID related to visualpath. I don't want to access whose email ID is gmail.com. So we can utilize a like this thing, and after that we have to do some set related thing. Here the second parameter is not required. So what we will do, q dot q set parameter, this is a 0th location, this is the first mark. So after that we will write here that percentage and what exactly we want. We want visual path. This is the same that pattern we will utilize concept in string, we can utilize the same concept here. So we just try to access from student stu where stu.email like something, and that like means that must end with visualpath.com, and we will run it. So we not get any visualpath.com because that is spelling is not correct. Yeah. So when it's not matched with any, first time it is return null, but now we see that two visual path student is there whose email id is like visualpath.com, so we return it. So we have Suresh and Guru here, visual path. So we got Suresh and Guru. So now we see that first Suresh come and then Guru. So it is using a SID 005 and 009, but we want to like follow the order through S name, not the SID. So we will do like that. We will write after that order by order by. Here what is stu dot s name, stu dot s name. So that order we would like to follow, because here that order is following SID. Generally by default that order will become like that, what the means primary key order is there automatically, or that order will be mentioned. But here we don't want to follow primary key order. Here we would like to create some order that followed by S name. Through S name will come. So G will come first and after that S will come. So now it is a following, G will come first, then Suresh will come. But exactly I don't want Guru and means ascending order. If we want a descending order, then we will add here descending. So D E S C, only D E S C, it will follow descending order. So now fetch is a order by S name, that's then Guru come, but I want fetch through S name only, but now Suresh will come first. So now Suresh is coming first and after that Guru is coming. So like that we can utilize a multiple thing. We can utilize here that I already told pagination concept also, where we can write like a from customer C, where C dot, for example, we would like to retrieve some customer whose card type is equal to Visa or something, and after that customer balance between to some value, and there we would like to retrieve into the particular means start value and max value we can provide. So in the query itself we can provide q dot set max and set start, q dot set max result. So how many max result in pagination, how many value we want to retrieve, that much value will be provide. So max result is, if we provide 1, I think we cannot provide like that. Yeah, so here we have a max result 2 result is there, but we set here max result 1, so it will provide only one result, and next time it will provide a second result. So it provide only one result here, and we will fetch the second time, second rolling. Actually this is only one, this code is running. Again we will call this set get list, then that time it will provide second result. So this way, and we have to set q dot set start, a dot q dot set first result, first result. So according of that, for example, we fetched 1 to 10. So next time we will call the same method to 10 to 12. So we'll provide here 10, and then it's a start to fetching 10th number of position to next 10 number. Like that we can achieve pagination. I will show you that in the deeply in the code how we can achieve in the pagination by utilizing this concept. So till now we can understand like how we can utilize a where, how we can utilize a like, how we can utilize a order, how we can utilize a descending, and yeah, so most of the clause is clear. So through that we can access, for example, if we want to access the second highest element, so we can retrieve the all object, and after that list we have, so we can order by the balance something, and we can retrieve the particular list, the second position or last second position directly. So this kind of query they will asking in the question, retrieve a customer whose balance is the second, who have a second last balance. Then how we can retrieve it? First we can retrieve that complete customer, and after that here we can write the query order by balance. So we have a list of the customer and order by the balance. So we can go to the last, we know the index of the list. If we don't know, then we can find out list dot in the size, and after that through size we can get second highest, size -1, list dot get, pass that size -1 value, and we will get the particular value. Because here we are dealing with the completely object oriented concept, so we no need to worry about that, because here completely follow the object oriented concept only. So we have to think about that how we are dealing with that object in Java coding. That same thing we can deal here in the Hibernate runtime system, and we have to think about very few clauses like that, from, select, where, order by, group by thing, and average, sum, max, mean, count, this thing also. So I will explain this one is with the separate project where we can utilize a code standard as well as different kind of query also, and I will come with that. And till now I think it is a very clear how we can utilize a Hibernate query language and how we can achieve it. So how it is a performing, and how internally they are generating a particular native query. So we have to think about few clauses like that, form, select, where, order by, group by, and we can utilize that clauses like that whenever we start with some from, then from that class name, a student. So what we are using a class name will provide, it's not anything dependent to what the here table name is there, because we are using a table name my student 1, but we are not dealing anything related to table here. Even here stu.email, what email we will write, that is not like this column. It's not because of this column name email we will write here. We will write this email because a student have email field. So we are dealing this field, we are dealing this property and this class name. So either class name or either property name we can utilize and fetch the particular data. But when we are dealing in the MySQL native query or Oracle native query, we are dealing with this table name. Then we will write some query, select star from my student 1. So here we are dealing with student 1 and we want to fetch some data, then we will use that name like SID, SName, email, phone. So this native query is completely dependent, that is a tightly coupled with the table name as well as the column name. But when we are writing object oriented query, it does not have any dependency of particular table name or that column name. It is a complete have a independent of this thing. We will directly use particular class name and we can utilize that property name, and whenever we will get the complete object, we can do some operation, and we can deal with the complete object, and as it is we want, we can achieve it. So here when we going to write some query, we will start with the from and a student stu, like that we are creating a student stu is equal to new, like that we create here some variable. Even you can create anything here like a student, this one, then you have to change this all field here what you are using, student dot like and s name, and we can run this one. It will work perfectly, it will not generate any error or anything. So it's as it is same. So here we will write a class name, after that any variable name that will be a point to this student. In the next operation will utilize where clause, student dot email like or equal or less than or equal to less than, anything we can utilize here. So we are utilizing a like because we are going to search that email, that must be the visual path. And after that this one, and order by, I just would like to order by student dot s name. By default it will not write descending, that is ascending. So when we want to do the descending operation, then we can apply descending. Even you can write ascending also here, that will work, it will not create any problem. After that we are doing a query q equal to session dot create query, and we will pass that SQL here. So what happened when we call session dot create query, the query will be created and then associated with the particular SQL, and after that we have a set string method or set parameter method. Through that we can set the parameter. We have a max result, mean first result kind of thing for pagination concept. So as it is we want, we can achieve it. After that we have a list with the generic. Through that q dot list we can get here q that have another method also. Through that we can get the functionality, get the particular student also. You just check it, and after that we can if we have the complete object, then we can retrieve it with help of Java language, and we can do any kind of operation. So this is SQL. I have one project I already created. I will show you that how we can follow the coding standard and how we can write complete object oriented query language through that SQL, how we can achieve this situation. And means I will show you that how deeply SQL means how we can write different kind of query languages. So through that Hibernate query language SQL, we can achieve, we can implement any kind of query, and it is a support complete object oriented query language. So it is a very easy to manipulate or very easy to do the operation on it. So I will explain one more time theoretically what is the exactly Hibernate query language. So Hibernate query language, SQL is an object oriented query language similar to SQL, but instead of operation on the table of the column that I already saw, it is a working on that object and the particular property. Like that here we are dealing with the student and a student property. Here we have the table name, it's a my student something, my student 1, but we are not write anything here my student kind of thing. We write a student, that class name, and after that a student dot email or something, we will using that property of that particular. For example, here we utilize that property like that, we utilize a email ID here, and for example we don't have a email ID here, so I will write email ID 1, like email ID 1. Somewhere it create a problem. Okay, email ID 1 and email ID 1, I think it is fine now. One more problem is that with two string method. So here email ID 1, so now it is fine, but when you will run, that will be throw a problem because student dot email ID is not a property now in the particular class. Still we have to compile. So I will show you that this one in deeply in the next project. So here they are means they are using a student and this student property itself. but instead of operating on the table of column, it is using a that particular value. So SQL student means SQL statement directly with the Hibernate using a native SQL, but I would recommend it to use SQL whenever possible to avoid database property thing, and it will take advantage to use Hibernate SQL generation caching strategy also. So internally we can, when we use a query also, we can cache this query, so it will be reduce the down trip between the our application and database, because we will for example, we want to fetch some data from the table, and we know that that data is not changing effectively, and if that data is available in the locally inside the cache, so we will return that data into the particular requirement. We will not directly hit the table and we will fetch the particular data. So we already see that it have a from clause, it have a select clause, as clause, as well as its where clause, order by clause, and group by clause. Group by clause I will show you that in the next program, and update clause we will show you that, delete clause is there, insert clause is there, aggregation is there. Other than I already show you that average is there, count, max, mean, sum, and distinct, this thing is there. And for pagination it have a set first result, set max result. So those things we have to set for the pagination. So main thing is that whatever functionality is provided by native query, Hibernate is provided all the functionality, as well as Hibernate provided some extra functionality like a pagination concept and caching, means we will cache that object. We have the filter concept inside that, we can filter it. Many things is there, we can go one by one and we can understand. So I have one project where we utilize all a standard kind of coding, and as well as that have all different kind of means SQL. So we will see that first. Now that this video aim is that just try to explain about the basic of SQL. So right now I am thinking you are aware about the basic of SQL. So we will write SQL here. After that we will create session.create SQL, pass that, and after that we will queue.query.list, and through that we can get the SQL. So only 3 steps we can achieve. The any query will pass, trigger any query, and we can get the data from database. So just go through that video and try to understand SQL, as well as that very important question, this one that I already explained, 3 stage of particular object. So try to understand also that 3 stage: detach, transient stage, and persistent stage. So state as well as particular object. And next video I will explain about that deeply in the SQL, how that SQL is working and how we can write effectively SQL code. Till now, thanks for watching a video.